Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be continuing our journey into the John Wick franchise, and we will be talking about John Wick Chapter 2 from 2017, again directed by Chad Stahelski, and again, Keanu Reeves coming back to play the title character of John Wick. We've got Ian McShane that returns. Of course, the late great Lance Reddick. We've got Ruby Rose that joins, and also we've got Lawrence Fishburne. Morpheus himself is in a John Wick movie. Kills with me and Coriander, of course. Guys, this movie, it just wow. I mean, we just finished talking about the first movie. The second movie ups the ante, and it's just absolutely bonkers. Coriander, let me start with you. Any overall thoughts that you want to throw out about John Wick Chapter 2?
You know, it just keeps getting better, and it makes me want Chapter 3. So yeah.
There you go. There you go. How about you, Kill?
Well, you forgot one actor, and I'm a fan of any of the characters that can give John a good fight. Shouts out to Common.
Yeah, Common's in it too. That's right.
In this one, because each of these movies, there's one character in like each of these movies. It's like, look, I'm gonna fight you. It's gonna be a fair fight. It's gonna be one-on-one, and it's gonna be a ballet. It's gonna be so cinematic and just a beautiful dance of death. So
absolutely,
John Wick 2, what's up.
Yeah, man. I mean, this movie, it's just interesting how it picks up from the last movie, and I loved the opening with what they did with the car chase, and he's trying to get his car back from the first movie.
Yes.
And there's tons of awesome scenes. And of course, the brother of Vigo, again, we have a situation where someone is giving us some insight to John Wick. And he's like, my nephew stole his car. He killed his fucking dog and blah, blah, blah. Now he's come to get his car back from us and, blah, blah, blah.
He's killed 3 men in a bar.
With a pencil. I know, I've heard the story, sir.
Fucking pencil? Who the fuck can do that?
And it's just some awesome stuff. It really, really is in the beginning of this movie, and it sets the tone for everything that we're going to see. Great stunt work too. Even in scenes where Keanu Reeves, the door is busted off of the car, and he gets knocked out of the car. There was some really, really cool stuff that they did in this movie that you just hadn't seen before. Once again, showing other layers to this world, but ultimately in the glove box was a picture of him and his wife, and so you see why the car also has a lot of meaning to John Wick. So again, giving him those inner depths. Let's talk about any favorite scene that we had in the movie. Coriander, let me start with you. Throughout this movie, and it's a very basic movie, again, the plot of it, but do you have any scenes that stand out to you?
Well, for me, it's when he's, taking care of his blood oath that he has to fulfill. And you're seeing him at work. You see him getting ready with suits being made to armor, with armor put into it, to picking out weapons. And I just loved seeing how he worked and how he actually performed, when he's doing his stuff. And it's just great to watch him do his thing, because it's like Killian says, it's like a beautiful dance. And at some points it's like, this is like, it's so cool. So
absolutely. The bottom line of this is that he thought he was retired. He gets his car back, and he's thinking, okay, I got my revenge, and now everything is good. And we also had a cool little moment too with John Leguizamo, who comes and takes a look at the car, and John Wick is like,
can I just say, that was so crushing to see all that damage that happened to that car in that scene. Let me tell you.
Right,
Oh,
right. But it's just little funny moments like that. So it was cool. But
yeah.
he buries his guns. He buries his guns back, and he thinks it's all over. And Kill,
Mhm.
what happens when you think you're out? Someone comes knocking at the door, and sure as shit, one of the members of the high table, and or I should say, Santino, but he is a person that has a history with Wick. What did you think of this character and how this scene played out, Kill?
I mean, okay, before you change the screen, just
Okay.
look at this guy. Like, no,
Right.
this dude is a POS. He is a piece of shit, and you can
Yep.
just tell, like,
Yeah.
and the bad thing about it is John has so much honor,
Right.
and
Yeah.
essentially, was it D'Antonio?
Santino.
Santino. Yeah, he
Yeah.
has a marker where
Mhm.
he was instrumental in helping John back in the day, helping him get out actually.
Mhm.
Yep.
And he's like, look, I'm calling in the marker. If you had stayed away, stayed retired, I wouldn't be calling you in for this. But
Mhm.
I'm calling it in. And John is reluctant to the fact that, to the point where they blow up his house.
Yes.
Yep.
And right there kind of shows the temperament of this guy. He's not a good guy.
Right.
And but John does have his morals and so forth. So he reluctantly, goes along with the game plan here to cash in this debt, this blood oath.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he goes to the Continental, and your boy Winston. I love Ian McShane because he says 2 rules, Jonathan, and he said you have to honor a marker and never conduct business on Continental grounds. And so he basically told John Wick, he's like, you're gonna have to honor the marker, because if you don't, you're gonna die. If you run, you die. If you try to kill Santino, you're gonna die. So that's all you can do. And we come to find out that what he wants John to do is to kill his sister, who has a seat at the high table. So this is basically
Yep.
just over power and greed. And so it's just an interesting setup to where this movie is going to go. But like you said, one thing that I really loved about this movie, I'll throw out my thing, is the way that they were building the world more. It felt very organic, but it was opening up things. It wasn't just New York in this smaller place that we had seen in the first John Wick movie, because now John Wick has to go abroad to Rome, but he has to arm himself up. And I thought, and like I said to Kill, I thought the scene where he's getting his guns, and all of these people know him, and he's getting access to the maps and locations, and they're showing him basically Kevlar lined suits and stuff like that. I was like, oh my god, this is just so cool. But it really makes sense that he would have these types of things as an assassin, because you're going to get shot at. So now, instead of having like a regular bulletproof vest, he has it lined in his suit. Kill, I mean, I had never seen that type of thing in a movie like this. Have you?
I mean, the closest thing I could think of is like Bond with Q and Q's gadgets.
True.
But
Definitely gadgets, yeah.
but there's such a sophistication in the John
Right.
Wick movies that we're not used to in a action flick. I mean, he goes to the Continental of Rome, which
Yes.
is immaculate and it's beautiful.
Right.
And
Yes.
he's like, is the salmonier in, and a salmonier is essentially someone who is very much knowledgeable about wine, but
Mhm.
in this case, he's knowledgeable about guns.
Mhm.
And he's sitting there and he's like, yeah, I need something that'll like leave a mark. Oh, I've got the perfect thing. And it's just so cool to watch it, and the way that they shoot it, they're intertwining between that and then the suit maker. How many suits do you
Right.
need?
Yes.
Is it for nighttime? Is it for daytime? You know?
Yes.
What style?
Italian.
How many buttons?
2.
Trousers?
Tapered.
How about the lining?
Tactical.
and anything else, tactical.
Tactical.
And it's just
Yeah.
so cool to see the preparation.
Yes.
In a lot of action movies, you don't see the prep.
Right.
You know, we get this level of preparation in heist movies, Ocean's
Right.
11s, Italian Jobs, things like that. Gone in 60 Seconds.
Mhm.
You know, hell, even Fast and Furious movies give us crazy prep, but like you know, insane. Anyway,
Yeah.
But it's so cool to see this assassin get the blueprint, know how to get through the catacombs, gets his weaponry, goes ahead of time and places weapons in strategic positions, like he's Rambo at the end of the last Rambo movie, you know, hiding shotguns and so forth.
Yep.
So all of that preparation is inherently what John is and what he does. He preps. John Wick is Batman without the utility belt.
Pretty much, man.
See,
Pretty
I
much.
think I love that you said that, because I think he would make an awesome Batman if they ever wanted to fill the shoes. I think Keanu should do it.
That would be
Well,
Just saying.
That would be interesting. I mean, I don't know, man. I saw an interview because obviously Wick is about to open up, and he was being asked, you know, are you getting to the point where this is starting to be difficult to do? Because Keanu Reeves is getting up there in age, and he said on John Wick 4, he said that's when it first started to seem like it was getting difficult. He says, but I'm not there yet. And I was like, I mean, the stuff that he's doing in these movies is very, very difficult physically.
Can I add one thing? Coriander,
Yeah.
technically Keanu Reeves has played Batman in DC Super Pets.
God, man.
I've never
All right.
seen it, man.
Listen.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailer, and Keanu Reeves does the voice of Batman. It looks
I mean,
cute.
he
looks
can
cute.
do the voice. Can I
I'll
also
just
say
yes.
Can I also say in that scene when he was going through the guns and stuff, I loved it at the end when he was like, dessert. And the guy was like, oh, dessert.
Dessert.
Dessert. The finest cutlery, all freshly stoned.
And he opens up all the knives and stuff for the cutlery, and oh my god, it was just so amazing. But Coriander, he's armored up, but what did you think about, and obviously this is an action sequence, and me and Coriander, when we were watching it to prep, we were talking about this is an action sequence that's almost like a half hour long in total, because once he goes into the catacombs and gets out, and then he fights Cassian, that's a long stretch of time in this movie, but it's fast paced. Coriander, what did you think about the scene when he goes there and he has to kill Santino's sister, and obviously has to fight 20, or well, actually more than that, probably like 50 guys to get out?
Oh yeah, I mean, he played it well, okay, because she knew that, yep, okay, who put the marker on me, you know, and when he told her who it was, she like took the matter into her own hands, and he respected that. You know what I mean? He didn't just go up and kill her. He let her, you know, slit her wrist and sit down, and he even held her hand.
Right.
You know, and when she slumped her head, he shot her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was respectful. He did what he had to do, you know, and the fact that he let her go out on her terms, that was cool. And it just shows, you know, he's just, and his escape, it was rough. It was rough, but he did it.
It was,
you know, because he's John Wick and he can do anything. So
yeah, I mean, he's literally in a friggin', it's like a concert basically, and he's running through tons of people, reloading, shifting around. He has to deal with Ruby Rose's character, who's they're basically double crossing him, because Santino said, hey, you've got to kill my sister and then the marker is honored. But once he killed the sister, Santino's like, well, what kind of a man would I be if I didn't avenge my sister's murder? So he sends his goons, a whole bunch of them, led by Ruby Rose, who plays Ares, you know, his lead assassin, who's mute, by the way, which I thought that was kind of a cool little thing, something different. And but John has to Kill, just tell me, man, when he's down below in the caves and stuff, I mean, he was just going off on so many people using all of his guns and the ones that he hid.
Yeah. And we said this before when we talked about the first John Wick movie. He reloads. He picks up other people's guns. I mean, in the third movie, he even does something where he takes apart a piece of one gun to put on another gun to get it to work.
Yes.
And all of this it makes sense. It makes it realistic. It adds something that, we don't get in the Bond movies. We don't get in Mission Impossible movies. Not bagging on those in any way, shape, or form. They're great action movies. But there is a level of realism to the gun kata in the John Wick movies.
Shout out to Equilibrium.
Shots out. And when he's in the catacombs, I mean, it's just so believable. It's so tactical. He gets shot. He uses his Kevlar suit to, block things. He gets hurt. He gets punched. He gets stabbed. And pretty much from the catacombs on, his face is not clean. His face is beat up, cut up, sliced up, and that goes into the third movie. So
good point.
I mean, the continuity is there. So this man is a modern day warrior. He is a samurai. I mean,
he is. He really, really is. Well, Kill, I asked Coriander about her favorite scene in the movie. Do you have a scene that really stands out for you specifically in this movie?
Yeah. Once again, I'd like to give a shout out to Common. All of the scenes with them, whether they're talking or fighting. I mean, when Cassian first sees John Wick, he's like, "Hey, John, you working?" And he says, "Yeah." And then he asks him, "Was it a good night?" Essentially saying, "Did you kill my boss?"
Right.
And he says, "Yeah, it was a good night."
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, all right." So much is being said between these two assassins who are both, really good. And that, you have to kind of read between the lines. And from that point on, Cassian comes after John at least 2 or 3 times, and their encounters are so funny and dangerous, to the point where they're in public and they're just walking, and they'll just be like, choo, choo, choo.
I love that scene.
Very casually in a crowd, crowds of people. They're fighting in subways. They get to the Continental, and they have to stop. They go get a drink. They're talking about, hey, look, I got to kill you. I'll make it quick. I'll give you that courtesy. So it's just really interesting seeing these two, assassins who both in their own respect have honor. And that's the one thing I liked about Cassian that we really haven't seen, at least in the first movie, is Mrs. Perkins didn't have honor. Clearly. Cassian not only has honor, he truly felt something for his boss who died. To the point where he wants to avenge her. You know? So I think there's truly something there. Shouts out, give Common a spinoff.
Yeah, man, he was really, really good in it. It was good to see that, because I didn't expect it. I really, really didn't expect it. But let me just say, the other thing that I thought that was really, really cool as far as a favorite scene or aspect of this movie is that once Santino double-crossed John Wick, he put a hit out on him, a worldwide hit. I believe it was $7 million. And once again, with this movie having this buildup of the world and the characters and everything, is once he did that, well, you realize that there are people that have to take those instructions, and so you're getting old school, like the old school telephone operators, and they're literally putting the hit out and texting it out to dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of assassins in New York.
Everywhere, man.
And it's just like, and your boy E Honda came back. Kill. For any of you Street Fighter fans, This scene was fantastic because, and I'm just calling him E Honda, no disrespect, but he looked like E Honda, man. He really did. You got people playing a violin, and they're just sitting around, and they're literally attacking John Wick out of nowhere. Like, he has no idea who's going to attack him until they do. I mean, he's getting shot in the back because guns are in violins, and I mean, it was some really cool scenes in this part, but also showing the marker. Once it was finished, you know, Winston told Santino, you know, he finished the marker, now he's clear. So basically saying now all bets are off, you know what I mean? And they were intercutting that with Wick fighting all these people. But Coriander, I also wanted to bring up something that was a callback to the first movie. While he's fighting, and also you see what one of these assassins pulls his jacket up so he doesn't have armoring, he doesn't have protection, and shot him right in the side. Again, little things like that were really good. But Coriander, look in the bottom right corner of this still image. He is going to be attacked by these two goons. And what do you see in the bottom right corner that's on a table? A couple of pencils.
Pencils.
The fucking pencil? Who the fuck can do that?
It comes into play just like the stories from the first movie. Coriander, what did you think of this scene and the assassin scenes in general?
You know, I'm kind of glad they did this because both of those goons told the same story about him. You know, I've seen him kill with pencils, you know, and we saw him do it. So it's like, it's, you know, all the stories are true. It's true, you know? So, very, very cool. Kill, what did you think? Because when I saw it, I'm like, dude, they're actually doing it. He's killing guys with a pencil.
Pencil.
And I loved it in the beginning when he's like, who the fuck can do that?
Heard the story, sir.
Fucking pencil? Who the fuck can do that?
Well, look, you know, what I love that this little sequence showed with all the assassins, you know, they're all just doing very mundane things. They're out having ice cream. It's date night. They hear that ring, 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 and then all of a sudden they look like this.
Yes.
And this is the scariest version of It Follows, John Wick style.
Yes.
Because everywhere he walks, suddenly he's got a shadow following him, or he has a big sumo wrestling kind of guy, or a lady on a violin. And it's one thing that we're not really kind of used to seeing. John was on his heels. John was running scared. He was like, oh crap. And once again, the beautiful thing that this movie is doing is it's expanding the world so much that begs the question, well, you know, John's in the subway, he's being chased, you know, he feels like, man, what can I do? He goes up to a homeless guy who's kind of acting, you know, like he's not fully there, acting a little off, but he's not. And he drops one of those coins in his cup and says, take me to him. And he looks at the coin to verify, all right, this is good, kind of covers him, and then goes back to pretending that he's off and protects John. So once again, Alice is going down the rabbit hole, like, okay, who are we, you know, what is this part of this world?
Well, there was so many levels. That was very interesting to me. I just, every time you thought you knew what was going on, they'd throw something new at you, and I thought it was very, very cool how this movie was written in that way, to continue that process that had begun in the first movie. Real quick, let's just talk about either a favorite character or favorite character moment. I'll start with you, Coriander, and then Kill. I mean, I'm assuming I know who you're going to mention, but did you have a favorite character in the movie or favorite character's moment?
Oh, John Wick is
okay.
It's probably like, you know, my favorite character.
Okay.
What? And yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. He just gets better with age. So the fact that he's able to like do all this, and he's just really good, and he's a great action star, and I really never thought that he'd get to like the level he's at, because holy shit, I mean, the shit that he's doing in these movies are incredible. And hats
Agreed.
off to him. So,
Yep.
I mean, he's my favorite character.
Okay. How about you, Kill?
Well, other than John himself, I actually really like Lawrence Fishburne.
I knew you'd say that.
Yeah, because okay, look. I mean, just to see Lawrence and John and Keanu back together was fun. But what's so interesting about his character is he's not what he seems. Like right here, he looks like he might be a homeless man and so forth.
Mhm.
And he's a king. He's literally an underground king in New York. And as he talks to John and they go deeper into his kingdom, you know, he takes off this big robe here and puts on some fine like Egyptian silk robe, and he's just like, all right, John, so let's talk. And
Right.
he's just so cool. And he has his, you know, network of spies that hear everything around the city. So he's tuned in and he's like, $7 million. Woo!
Damn.
Damn.
We're going to Applebee's. We're going to Applebee's tonight.
$7 million. Damn! It's Christmas. We're going to Applebee's after this.
Exactly. He is hilarious, and he plays
is.
it up so well. And it's interesting because he's kind of like a flip side of Winston. You know, Winston is the king of the Continental and is kind of a friend to John. And Lawrence Fishburne's character, he's kind of like maybe like a frenemy. You know, he kind of was just like, okay, I can help you, but what do I get?
Wick spared him back in the day.
This is true.
Because he said, you snuck up right on me. I didn't even hear you. And he basically, Wick said, if you if you try to shoot me with your gun, you're going to bleed out. But if you hold on to the pressure, then you'll live. And John Wick just left. So
for me, Lawrence Fishburne, I enjoyed all the scenes with him and Keanu, and just seeing this new character, you know, thrown into the lore of this franchise.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that, you know, for me, it's obviously, you know, Wick and Lawrence Fishburne as the Bowery King was really great as well. I really just enjoyed Winston in this as well because, you know, he seemed to have a more elevated position. Like you really understood how much of a reach he has, and you see that at the end of the movie, because at this point in the film when Wick meets the Bowery King, he's basically like, you got to help me get to Santino, you got to move me underground because there's 50,000 assassins coming after me, but I've got to finish this. And you know, it was just really interesting how, you know, the Bowery King has this network of homeless people and ways that he moves around. But at the end of the movie, you know, it's basically John Wick going after Santino at all costs. You have that fantastic mirror scene. Shout out to Enter the Dragon, because every time I see a mirror scene, I'm like, man, it just never gets old. It doesn't matter who it is. And Santino is running. You've got Ares coming with the rest of the goons. And it's just basically this big battle, and they use the reflections of the mirror very, very well. It's just crisp looking. It looks beautiful, you know, just like in the last movie. But yet it's kind of different, you know. And then of course you have the battle that Wick has with Ares. You have that scene where he like takes her blade that she has and he like just shoves it right into her hand, and it's just some cool scenes, man. And ultimately he gets done with her, and you're thinking, okay, he's gonna get Santino at this point, but Santino runs to the Continental. You know, it was basically like, I'm on base, I'm safe, you know what I mean? And it's an interesting end of the movie because I didn't think what was going to happen was going to happen, because Santino is sitting there, and Coriander, I know you love this part. Santino is just sitting there all smug, and he's eating this amazingly great looking meal, and he's like, you know, I could stay here for a long time because the menu you could eat here every day and not have the same thing for a year or something like that. Coriander, when you first saw this movie, did you think that John was going to kill Santino at the Continental, even though even Winston was saying, John, just walk away, don't conduct business?
Know, I didn't, but I'm not surprised because of what he destroyed. You know, he got rid of every piece of memory he had of his wife. So
Right.
yeah, except for that bracelet. He did find that bracelet. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what I was going to
Absolutely.
go with that, but yeah.
Yeah. And of course, he does that, and it's like, oh crap. And even Winston says,
Mhm.
"What have
Oh,
you
yeah.
done?" And it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, man, because we saw what happened with Miss Perkins in the first movie.
Right.
So
And John
so
knows because, like you said, he was told multiple times you don't
yeah,
conduct business on the property. So yeah,
exactly.
it sucks.
Kill, what did you think of that scene? Did it surprise you, and what did you think was going to happen at that point?
I thought just for the story's sake that he was gonna kill him. And plus he was so smug sitting there
He
eating his
was.
duck fat,
Yeah,
meal.
it makes all the difference.
Yeah, and John, look, I think if he wasn't as smug or talking shit, I think John would have obeyed the rules of the Continental.
Maybe.
But
Mhm.
I knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And like you were just saying, like Winston, his reaction, like, it's like,
Mhm.
oh God, because he knows what he has to do.
Right. Now he has
And
to make him excommunicado.
yeah, and once again, this, I don't know if Miss Perkins was excommunicado or what hers was, but essentially you get to see the the paper pushers and what that
Right.
truly means and how fast those ladies work. Shouts out
Yeah.
to the ladies with the ponytails and the tattoos doing
Right.
doing God's work. Thank you, ladies.
Pretty much. Pretty
and,
much.
and they're old school with it too, man. They're
Right.
bringing the files there. They send it to the most senior lady who's been there the longest, and she still has her tats and whatnot. They put the stamps on it, and Winston is just laying it down. I can give you an hour.
Right.
I can
You've
give
got
you
an hour. Yeah.
And the one thing I'll say, and I hope I'm not talking too much, but that scene right there where they're in the park there kind of shows the power Winston has, because all of those people in that park are assassins.
That's right.
Yep.
And I think once again the director did a scene like that to show you just how vast this network is, that everybody in that park can be key in step. Like, it's a lot of assassins in this world.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too is when you become excommunicado, like Winston said to John Wick, he said, you cannot use any services of the Continental or anything associated with it. And not to jump ahead, I don't want to do that, but we'll see how that plays out in 3, because it's not just the hotel. And it's funny because when I was watching this movie at first, I was thinking, damn, he can't go to the hotel no more. But again, this world keeps getting bigger and bigger and more layers and more things that you have to think about. And so when Winston said this, he meant a lot more than just going inside of the hotel and being quote unquote safe, and it was just interesting. But of course, you got to love Keanu Reeves, because he says, Winston, tell them all, I'll kill them, I'll kill them all. And Winston's like, of course you will, and this is basically the ending of the movie, is John Wick is going through the park and everyone is looking at him, because they basically put out the excommunicado saying within 1 hour, have at it. Wick is the one. And I believe that when he said the high table has doubled Santino's hit. 14 mil. So it's like, oh man, it's just
contract.
Worldwide. This went from New York to the planet. But wait a minute, couldn't we have just gone to the
he owns
country?
an island somewhere, and that's where he's gonna go.
Yeah, well,
He just has to make it.
yeah. But anyways, that's the end of the movie, and so it's basically a cliffhanger, which I thought was so interesting. When I first saw this movie, I was like, what? This is crazy. And this movie, it just opened up so many more levels. The budget was more at $40 million, and it made a hell of a lot more money than the first movie. It made $172 million. So it was like, you could see at this point that yes, this is a franchise to be reckoned with, and Keanu Reeves again, he's just absolutely amazing. And obviously we'll be talking about John Wick 3, and John Wick 4 is about to open up, so it's just fantastic stuff. Great movie. Again, for a fan of action, for a fan of Keanu Reeves, a fan of, assassins, hitman type of movies, you've got to watch all of these John Wick movies. And John Wick 2 did not disappoint. I think it upped the ante, and it did a hell of a job. It really, really did. So anyways, for you guys that are watching, please let us know in the comment section, what do you think of John Wick Chapter 2? Did you enjoy it more than the first movie, or what? Let us know. Tell us some of your favorite scenes and moments in the film. Also, if you have not hit the like button, please do. It helps to support the channel. We'd appreciate it. And if you have not subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, what are you doing? This is the time to do it. Do it now. And we'd really appreciate to have you part of our community. So anyways, we'll be talking to you guys soon when we talk about John Wick 3. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.
Church.